All right. Hey, we're at the top of the hour. So thank you everyone for joining today, the Platform Fundamentals Academy. We have an exciting one for you. So if you're new, welcome. If you're a returner, welcome back. We do truly appreciate everyone coming and spend some time with us. Maybe it's your lunch, maybe it's your breakfast, who knows, maybe it's your dinner. But the fact is you're here with us, so that's super awesome. So quickly, I'm going to go over some logistical information, and then we're going to get directly into our content to make sure that we give it enough time that everyone gets some great information out of it. So we save time at the end for Q&A. However, you're more than welcome to ask questions whenever you like in the Q&A. Please don't ask those in the chat. You can say hellos and all those great things in the chat, but please utilize the Q&A because we do have other panelists that are on the call that maybe aren't necessarily presenting anything today, and they're here to answer questions. So if we can get those answered via type, we can definitely do that. If there is a question that comes in that maybe is relevant to where we are in the content, we may or may not actually stop and ask that question to whoever is presenting or demoing. But again, we do have some time towards the end that you can ask questions, but feel free to do it anytime you want. This is being recorded. It will obviously be out in the community within the next couple days, depending on when we get the recording back. It will be in the on our YouTube channel as well. So please feel free to sit back and just take it all in, and you don't have to worry about taking the notes and things like that because you can do that later on. But of course, if you like taking notes, then that's great as well. After the event, you'll be prompted to fill out a short survey. If you'd be willing to do that, that definitely helps us make sure that we provide really great content for you. And all feedback is good feedback, regardless if it's good or bad. So please share it with us so we can make sure that we do this better for you. Safe harbor. Probably, maybe, don't exactly know, but there could definitely be something in this that would require the safe harbor notice. So make sure that you keep that in mind as you're actually listening to whatever is being presented today. And of course, if you have any questions that maybe is about future roadmap, things of that nature, please understand the safe harbor notice when you ask those and of course receive those answers. So my name is Thomas Davis. I am not the host that you're used to seeing. I am not as pretty as Patty. But she is out, guess what, on maternity leave. She is having a child. So she won't be here for a couple months. So I'm standing in for her and Adam. I might be better looking than Adam. That's probably an argument, but here we are. So we have Brianna and we have Randir and we have Abuj here that's going to actually be giving us the great information that we have. So we definitely thank them for being here. I know that everybody's schedule is super busy, and the fact that they gave up and freed an hour for us, we definitely do truly appreciate that. So today we're going to talk about MFA enforcement and what is coming and what you need to know to be ready, which super important, and we hope that you definitely get something out of this. I know that you will because really great content that the three that are here have put together. So with that, Brianna, you are more than welcome to take over and share and rock and roll. Let's go.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining. We're excited to be here. Let's get my slides up here and let me know. Everyone can see?
We can see.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so welcome to our session on MFA enforcement. As you may or may not know, with the Yokohama release coming out, we're doing what we're calling it MFA enforcement by default. So we're not, making you do something completely changing the way that you use MFA, but what we're trying to do is to help you guys kind of make some better decisions when it comes to when and how you want to use MFA to keep your application more secure. So for today, we're going to kind of do like a high level intro to MFA. And again, when I say MFA, we're talking about multi-factor authentication. When we say enforced MFA, what are we talking about? What does the enrollment process look like and how do you configure MFA? What is the scope and timeline for the MFA enforcement? And we're going to also make sure throughout the presentation that we talk about what are some of the benefits of MFA and what are some best practices for MFA and just in general with this enforcement that we recommend. We will have plenty of time at the end for Q&A, probably, most likely, but please, as you have those questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We have our experts with us today. They can answer questions and we can also, answer them at the end. So with that, let's go ahead and we'll get started. So again, what is MFA? So MFA is a security process that requires users to provide two or more forms of verification before they can access an account or system. Very, very simply said. Just think of it as an extra layer of protection beyond just a password. So for example, when you're logging into your bank, MFA is going to ask you to enter your password, and then they're going to confirm a code that was sent to your phone. This way, it makes it so that even if somebody already has your password, they can't get in without also having your phone. So one and two different factors of authentication. But why the MFA enforcement? Why is ServiceNow choosing to do this? So MFA, what it does is it significantly strengthens account security by requiring that second form of verification. This is going to help reduce the risk of unauthorized access. Cyber threats are constantly evolving, and passwords are no longer enough to protect against unauthorized access. So with MFA, even if someone guesses or steals your password, they need that second form of verification, like the code or fingerprint scan, to be able to get in. This extra layer helps block most unauthorized attempts and will keep your information safer. MFA protects against a lot of different types of threats, including phishing. So it's going to prevent those attackers from using stolen credentials. Credential stuffing, which will help stop automated login attempts with leaked passwords that you have. Man in the middle attacks, which will add an addition, because it adds an extra security level beyond just passwords. And brute force attacks, which is just kind of password guessing attacks. Even if they guess your password, they would still need that second mode of authentication. So this is super effective against these types of attacks. So for the scope of this MFA rollout, not logout. So MFA will be enforced for all users except those with the SNC external role. The users included are performing the username and password-based local or LDAP authentication. MFA is not required for SSO logins or external users. This will apply to both web and mobile app logins, and this will be enforced for all customer instances, including production, sub-production, dev, and test environments. So just to say that one more time. So this applies to only internal users, which are the users without the external role, that are logging in with username and password who are not already using MFA. It is for all UIs, and it's for all levels of your instances. So production, sub-prod, dev, and test. Again, external users are not going to be affected, and people that only use SSO to log in are also not going to be affected. So here's how we kind of broke it in so you can understand it in this way too. So for existing customers upgrading to Yokohama or later, the way that it's going to look is MFA will be enabled by default if not already active. Your internal users will need to set up MFA within 30 days of their first login. For new customers, MFA will be active by default for all internal users from day one. So for existing MFA users and SSO users, again, you're not going to see any change. If you log in and you have MFA, you're using Authenticator app, just keep doing what you're doing. You're using SSO, just log in the way that you've been logging in. But those internal local login users, when you log in the first day after your Yokohama upgrade, you're going to have 30 days to set up MFA. After 30 days, you're not going to be able to log in, and you're going to have to set up MFA to be able to get into the system. For any new customers, MFA will be active by default. These are customers that are not using ServiceNow. So when they're coming in, this will already be active. And when that user logs in, they're going to be prompted to create an MFA authentication type and will not be able to get in without it. So scenarios are, if you have Sarah, she's a local authentication user, just using username and password. When she logs in, she's going to have 30 days to log in. Anita is already a ServiceNow user that's using username, password, and MFA. Nothing's going to happen. She's not going to see anything about a 30-day window. Business as usual. Olivia, when Olivia logs in, she's using SSO through her company. Also, no impact on her login experience. If Thomas logs in, he's a brand new user in a brand new instance, his first login, he'll get prompted to set up MFA. So let's talk a little bit more about that timeline. So again, so between Yokohama, the day that you upgrade to Yokohama, And 90 days out, the system's going to look for any of the eligible users logging in. And on that first time that they successfully log in, you're going to have a 30-day period to set up MFA. So if I log in and I say, okay, I'm logging in. Oh, I have to do MFA. I don't want to do that right now, though. The next time you log in, you're going to keep seeing this, and you can say, like, not right now, postpone. But by that 30-day point, you have to have set up at MFA, or they're going to say, no, no more skips. You have to do it now. And then after 90 days, let's say you've been on vacation for 90 days. That would be a great vacation. But you're 90 days in, you're logging in for the first time, you will have to set up MFA right away. So the company basically gets a 90-day period where everyone has to do the self-enrollment. And then after 90 days, there is no more self-enrollment. It's mandated, it's enforced by default. These days can be adjusted by the admins if needed. If you need to make that 90 a little bit longer, if you need to make the 30 a little bit longer, there is a preset range that you can go into the properties and you can adjust. So what's this going to look like for our users? So we have two different images here. You can see on the top image where it says, welcome to admin. That's a bar up at the top. If you have an admin role, whether or not you have users that are eligible for this is going to be an acknowledgement. So you have to acknowledge this banner. If you just press the X and say, I don't want to acknowledge this right now, it's going to keep coming for you. So make sure that you acknowledge that, again, even if you don't have local logins, so everybody will see this. The bottom view here, where it says important security update, this is going to be for users that are eligible. So again, eligibility is that you are an internal user, you're using local or LDAP login, you're not using MFA, you're going to see this. And it says like after 29 days, you have to do this. After 28 days, you have to do this. And we put a nice link to our documentation in here so that you don't have to put all the information out already. They can click on the documentation, and the documentation takes them through setting up MFA and all that stuff. So that should be super helpful. So talking about MFA, and let's say that you now are in this webinar and you're like, cool, we have to set up MFA. I don't really know how that works at ServiceNow. I wanted to go over our different types of methods. So there's various verification methods available at ServiceNow for MFA. Things like passkey, authenticator apps, biometric authenticators, hardware security keys like a YubiKey, one-time password through email, text message one-time passwords. You can use any of these. You can also enroll in multiple different MFA options. This is usually recommended so that you have a backup. Like, let's say you have a code generating app on your phone, but you get a new phone. You might want to have a backup as your email so that you're not completely locked out. Things like that happen. I'm sure many of you have run into that. You'll see here that, different types of MFA have different assurance levels. So you can see on the left, you have those with the highest assurance levels, like a passkey or a biometric. When you're logging in with something that you have, not just something that it tells the system, hey, you are more likely to be who you say you are, because not only do you know the thing, but you also have the fingerprint that matches. So we do usually recommend these methods when you're able to use them. Now let's talk about exceptions, because I know that this is going to be something that people are asking about. Like, what about this specific user? Or what about this role? Or what about this group? How can I tailor this? So we do have a flexibility here. So certain users, roles, groups, even trusted networks or locations, these can be exempted from MFA by adding them to the appropriate exemption criteria. This flexibility is going to allow the admins to tailor the MFA enforcement to their organization's specific needs. So with this release, we added a new user group. The user group is called MFA Exempted User Group. So this is going to be based on a default condition added to the MFA policy. So any user who is a member of this group will not be enforced for MFA. So if you want to exempt a user from undergoing MFA, you can just add them to this group. Again, when this comes out, it's creating an MFA policy, and by default, it will have this exempted group. So you don't have to create a group. You don't have to do anything like that. All you have to do is just add people to the group and it's automatically going to apply to your policy. We will say we always recommend having MFA for everybody, but we know that everybody has different needs, so just keep this in mind. So that was kind of our high level view of like the who, the what, the how. Next, Rondir, he's going to do some demos for us, and he's going to walk us through a couple different things. He's going to walk us through what the admin experience is going to look like with MFA enforcement, what the end user experience is going to look like, kind of remind us on how easy it is to configure MFA, and also how to create some exceptions.
Thank you so much, Brianna. That was so insightful. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. My name is Randhir, and I'm a senior manager in product management for IAM products in ServiceNow. So what we will do in this demo, we will go through all the scenarios that Bri has already covered, and we will show you how easy it is to adjust MFA policies based on your own business need. So first thing first, this is an internal demo instance. This instance was running on Xanadu release, and I have upgraded it to the Yokohama release. And this instance was not having a default MFA policy. So what has happened is once I have upgraded, now the MFA enforcement is applicable to it. So now I have configured some users to log in with single sign-on, while other users to do local login. And we will see how their login experience will or will not change. So let's first start with the main item, that is SSO users. So we know that majority of our customers have SSO enabled on their instance, and majority of their users basically use SSO for logins. So what I want to show you is that for those users, there is no impact at all. Okay, so I'm logging in with Okta. It's again a demo instance. On Okta side, I'm undergoing MFA. Again, whether Okta is like the IDP is enforcing MFA or not, it doesn't really matter. For all your SSO logins, there won't be any change in the experience. You will be simply able to log in as you were able to log in prior to the upgrade. Okay, so this is the main point I wanted to make to begin with. Now, now that we're out of the picture, now let's focus on the scenario about local login. So what about the users who are logging in with ServiceNow username and password? So let me go to login.go, and I have another user, Ambuj, and Ambuj is going to use local ServiceNow username and password to access the instance post Yokohama release, Yokohama upgrade. Now, when Ambuj is logging in, you will see that Ambuj is seeing a security update related banner. What it says is that now you have 29 days to enroll. So post upgrade, whenever a user is logging in with local username and password or LDAP authentication, each user will get a 30 days enrollment period, self-enrollment period, right? In these 30 days, they can go to the profile section and they can self-enroll for the MFA. They can choose the factor based on their convenience. And once they enroll, from that point onwards, their login will be protected with MFA. If they do not take any action in the initial 30 days, then as Brianna mentioned, on 30th day, after the 30th day, they will be forced to do the MFA setup during the login flow. So this banner will appear for platform logins and as well as for portal logins, right? And we do provide information about why MFA is important. And then we have given a product link so that users can understand how they can configure different MFA factors. Now, this was an end user. Now I'll log in as an admin, right? So for admins, because it's a new change and we want to ensure that they are pretty aware of all the new things that are coming, we are going to show them a different banner that will appear on top, right? So again, this banner will come both in portal side as well as on the platform side. And what we are looking to do with this banner is we are seeking an acknowledgement, because we understand that this is a big change, and the admin needs to make some certain security decisions. They may want to include different users, they may want to exclude some users, or they want to modify the policy to, let's say, not enforce MFA on trusted network, or they may want to adjust some system properties, right? So this banner will continue to come up unless one of the admin provides the acknowledgement. So acknowledgement is basically giving you a KB link, and then you are supposed to read the KB, and there is a FAQ KB, which basically lists down all the scenarios in detail, right? And then once you have read it and understood the implications and adjusted your policy, you can provide your acknowledgement by making this property true. The moment you do that, this banner will stop appearing for all the admins. So one of the admin has to do it, right? So this is about the how we are basically informing the end users and providing them a self-enrollment window, as well as how we are seeking acknowledgement for the admin. Now, next part I wanted to show was how we are actually enforcing it. So we are leveraging the adaptive authentication policy framework for enforcing MFA. With adaptive authentication, we have MFA context policy. And what we are doing in this release is that we are shipping a default policy. And that policy basically has policy conditions to enforce MFA for non-SSO logins. And we have added 4 different policy input criteria to provide necessary adjustment options to the admin. So if I go to the condition, basically the condition says that if the user is not part of the exempted group and they also do not have any of the exempted roles, they will be enforced with MFA, right? So if I go back to the MFA exemption, these are the 2 options. Now, let's say if I'm going to this is a member of MFA exempted group. This is a new group that we have shipped. What if you have a use cases where you don't want to enforce MFA for certain users due to various requirements, you can just add them to this group, and these users will not see any MFA related banner at the time of login, and neither they will be seeing the forced MFA enforcement right after 30 days. So they will not see any change. We definitely recommend you to have MFA for all users, specifically the privileged ones. But yeah, you have this flexibility. Similarly, if you already know there are certain users that have certain role and you don't want them to have MFA, you can add those roles in this out of the box role filter criteria. As you can see, we have added SNC external into that list. What it does is that any user who has SNC external role and performing username and password based login, because they are part of the exemption criteria, they will not see the MFA. Similarly, if you have another roles for which you want to exempt, you can add those roles here, right? And in that way, you are basically able to ensure that the users who do not need MFA will not get it. So now I want to show there are other possibilities as well because this is based on a policy. If you have a totally different need and you want to do it in a different way, you can create another policy and associate it with MFA context, or you can create and add more criteria. Like let's assume that you don't want to enforce MFA when a user is on trusted network, right? So you can create those IP filter criterias, associate with this policy, and then accordingly modify the policy condition that when the user is on trusted network, do not enforce the MFA. So basically, it's up to the admin how they want to adjust the policy and then accordingly enforce the MFA. Only the users for which the policy is evaluating to true, they will see the banner. All other users will not see it. Now, let's see what are the different options an end user has if they are upgrading to, like if they are opting for MFA. So let me log out. So there are 2 ways a user can do MFA setup. So one is through the login flow. When they will be forced to do the MFA setup, they will see different options. So by default, a user will have 3 choices. One is authenticator app. Another one is FIDO2 based options like passkey, hardware security key, or biometric authenticators like Windows Hello and Touch ID. And then the third option is the email OTP based authentication. If there is a need, customers can also add SMS OTP based authentication. For that, you have to configure a CPaaS provider like Twilio, Infoweb, or other providers who can be configured to send SMS OTP. Okay, so let me log out and show you the profile section. So I'll log in as Ambuj. Ambuj will see the MFA enforcement banner, and I'm opting for doing a self-enrollment. So for that, I'll go to the profile section. and I will click on Configure Multi-Factor Authentication. So this option is available both on the portal side as well as the platform UI side. So biometric authenticators that are FIDO based are simplest to use, and as well they provide best in class security because they are phishing resistant. So let me configure a biometric authenticator. I will use my, I will provide a name and I will register my MacBook's Touch ID, and I'll provide my fingerprint. And with that, the registration will be complete. Now, from this point onward, whenever Ambuj is logging in, he will not see the enforcement message. He will directly see the MFA verification screen. And with one touch, I'm again be able to access the instance. So MFA is very simple. We have provided enough flexibility that you can use different factors. And based on your security need, you can also use MFA factor policies. This is another option that is available with the MFA context. Sorry, I have to log in as an admin. So let's assume that you have a use case that for certain users, you would only want to show email MFA, right? So in such cases, the platform provides you the flexibility that you can define MFA factor policy to enforce a specific authentication method for a specific set of users. I'll quickly take you to the MFA context record. And then in the MFA context, you can see that there are different factor policies. Again, based on certain user roles or group or IP, you can configure which factor is allowed to be used for certain users. Okay, now let's see one demo on the portal side. So I'll access Employee Service Center. Okay, and again, I will log in as Ambuj. And because Ambuj has already configured MFA factor, he will be prompted for biometric authentication. As I complete the biometric authentication, I will be taken back to the portal. And as I was saying, these MFA options are available on the portal side as well. So if you go to your profile, again, there is a configure multi-factor authentication option. And then your end users can enroll for MFA here as well. Well, that's now coming to the questions about how an admin can adjust the system properties and some of these timelines. So the way enforcement works is that after the upgrade, we will give a 90 days window, right? In this 90 days window, if any new user or any existing user is logging in with username and password based login, and if they don't have the SNC external role, they will get a 30 days self-enrollment period. People will get this self-enrollment opportunity up to the 90th day. If a user is logging in after the 90 days, they will automatically be enforced for MFA on their first login attempt when they're using username and password based login. So it's important to understand that after 90 days, every user will be automatically enforced for MFA if they have not already set up. An admin, we have provided two system properties using which an admin can adjust these timelines. So the 30 days self-enrollment period can be increased up to 90 days. And similarly, this relaxation period of 90 days can be extended up to 270 days. But we strongly encourage customers to not increase it. And if you see that your organization is ready, then probably it's a good idea to further reduce it. Now, there are some best practices that we are going to cover as part of the other slides, and we will take some more questions there. So over to you, Brianna.
Awesome. Thank you. That was great. Thank you for covering all of that. Okay, let me pull this back up. Okay. We can see you again.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay. We're changing slides though. Okay, here we go. Okay, so one thing we wanted to talk about also is tracking adoption. So if this is an important initiative on your side, and we really hope it is, we want to point out that in Security Center, under Security Console, under Security Metrics, there's this KPI, local logins not protected by MFA. we recommend going here anyway just to see how many local logins exist out there, because there might be a few that you don't know about. Maybe there's some break glass accounts. Maybe there's just like a system account that you didn't realize maybe didn't have that second layer of protection. So here you can go in and hopefully this number will come all the way down to 0 once this goes live in Yokohama. So please remember Security Center, Security Console, Security Metrics, and look for local logins not protected by MFA. This is the number that we want to definitely shrink. Okay, so for MFA best practices, oh, sorry, my slide didn't open. It didn't update. So please do enroll for multiple MFA methods. Like I said before, let's say you have an Authenticator app on your phone and you get a brand new phone. As you know, those don't roll over. You're going to want to have a backup option so you can get in. So maybe you want to have like an email one-time password as a backup, just in case. Do use the most secure methods of MFA. FIDO 2 is so easy to set up, as you saw with Rondir's demo. I use my fingerprint for everything. I find it's just so much easier. Do track how many local logins there are in your system not protected. That is what I just showed you, the tracking adoption. Please, bookmark that and visit that as much as possible, because that, by having that number come down, you are significantly reducing the risk of people getting into your instance unauthorized. And do educate users on the importance of MFA and provide clear instructions and support. We do have documentation that we're going to share with you. Please read this, share this. Again, when we tell your users about this coming out, they're also going to be able to click on the link and read the knowledge base articles themselves too. But what can you do now? So again, we're talking about this rollout of MFA enforcement. Maybe you have Yokohama upgrade on your roadmap for 3 months or 6 months from now. You do not need to wait for Yokohama to configure these policies. We're just saying that when Yokohama comes out, that we're doing it for you. But there's nothing stopping you from doing it now. If you do it now, you have control over the whole rollout window, and your users aren't going to get notified, and it's going to be a completely seamless transition once you do upgrade. What can you do now? Find out what MFA options are available to you today. We went over those again, but again, we have some really amazing documentation, and in there, it goes over the different types of MFA, and it kind of goes over some pros and cons and how to set it up. Play around with it and see if there's one that you like more than others. And again, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Of course, like now you're able to put some questions in the chat, but afterwards, please reach out, find us. You can find me on LinkedIn, reach out. We're happy to help. We want this to be an awesome thing that's happening to your organization, not something that you would see as red tape or anything like that. And then lastly, we have questions. So let's see what we have. Again, if you have any questions that we haven't been able to answer yet, please put them in the chat. I know that I have a few that I would like to ask Rondir, because these are the types of questions that we're getting from people all the time. So Rondir, if you have corporate MFA, and I think someone asked this already, but if you have corporate MFA, how is this going to affect you?
That's such an important question, Bree. So as I showed in the demo, if your SSO provider is enforcing MFO, first of all, great thing. You should continue to use that. Now that MFA does not apply to the logins that are happening with ServiceNow local username and password, right? So our MFA enforcement works hand in hand to ensure that all your SSO logins are protected by your identity provider by enforcing IDP's MFA. And then if any user is using ServiceNow local username and password, those logins are protected with ServiceNow platform MFA, because your SSO MFA will not apply here. So what you can do is, like, let's say you are using Okta or a Ping or a Microsoft Authenticator, all those options can also be used with ServiceNow MFA. So you can use the same Authenticator app, and then those Authenticator app can be configured to work with ServiceNow MFA. In addition, you can use passkeys and other options that we discussed during the demo. But yeah, this is one of the most important items that you may have a a mandate from your security team that MFA is a must and you should use only like corporate MFA. But please keep in mind that corporate MFA does not protect ServiceNow local username and password based logins. So our ServiceNow platform MFA is a must have. And at least for your privileged account, please ensure that you are enforcing ServiceNow MFA.
Yes, thank you. We could say that 5 times and it probably would still need to be said again.
Yeah, I
One
want
of
to
the,
add one.
oh yeah,
Uh,
please.
in just in case, if your SSO provider does not enforce MFA, so our platform does provide a capability that you can enforce MFA for SSO-based logins as well. We
Yeah.
will provide, like, please go to the product documentation. There's a topic called SSO, MFA with SSO. It will explain all the properties that you need to enable, but you can do that as well. By default, we do not enforce MFA for SSO-based logins, but if your SSO provider is not doing it, then you can do it with ServiceNow provided platform MFA.
Yes. And I know when I've been talking to people about this, a lot of people kind of get concerned because they're like, oh, but like I have that one account, that break glass account. Like, what if I get locked out? And what if I have MFA on that? And what if my MFA like has a fail safe on it? Or what is your recommendation to people on how they're going to how they're going to update their break glass accounts?
So yeah, this is also a repeated question, Brianna. And I want to ensure that first, you should ensure that you are in for your privileged accounts and break glass account, you are having multiple authenticator registered so that you are
Mhm.
not locked out of your account. Now, in worst case, if that happens, on support.servicenow.com, now support website, we are launching an option very soon, as early as in the month of April, wherein you can come to the instance and provide the username of the admin account, which is locked. And then the service catalog item will ensure that once all the verification is done, it will automatically unlock that account. And then you can log in with your username and password and access and set up the MFA. So that's another capability just in case your account get locked out and none of your authenticators are working.
And that was my next question. So great. Yes, thank you. I was going to ask about what happens if you get locked out, but like you said, we do have options. And I'll elaborate on when we say break glass account, that's just kind of like some security. I'd almost call it like security slang. But like let's say something crazy happens, and you have everyone's lost access to your instance and those people are like logging in with SSO. You want to have one account that can get in and restore access, or one account that can get in and get your data. So they like very dramatically, like you break glass and you pull out the credentials so you can log into the account. That's what we mean. So it's just kind of like a backup emergency only account is kind of what that's called. And then what about cloning? How is this going to affect that?
Yeah. So whether it's cloning or update set retrieval, MFA will not apply to both of these. So previously there used to be a constant feedback that once we enable MFA, our clone process is not working and our update set retrieval is having challenges. So we are ensuring that within this enforcement, the clone setup and update set retrieval process will go on as expected, and MFA will not be required for those.
Great. And what about update sets?
Yeah, so both for clone and update set retrieval, the MFA enforcement will not apply. So whatever account you're using, you can continue to use that. And MFA enforcement will not break those workflows.
Awesome. Those were the questions I had. Looks like we had some great questions that were answered in the Q&A. So thank you guys for jumping on that. I love the question that was asked about requiring MFA only for specific tables. If you haven't seen the announcement on our new product called Zero Trust, the part of that is new is continuous authentication. Please check that out because that's a huge thing. Because we're talking about security getting into the instance and ensuring that you are who you say you are. But how do we know it's still you when you're within within that session? There's such thing as session hijacking. So we have the continuous authentication that just came out, where when you're trying to access a sensitive table, it's going to make you go through the MFA process again, Or if you're an SSO user, you just re-authenticate just to make sure that before you're seeing that table that maybe has all of the executive salaries on it, that it's actually you. This could be really useful for multiple, like endless use cases.
Yeah.
Um,
And continuous authentication
yeah, go
gets
ahead.
integrated with your IDP. So with continuous authentication, you can also enforce the MFA provided you with your identity provider. So if you have a corporate MFA, that works well with continuous authentication feature. So based on how you have logged in, it will either enforce a ServiceNow platform MFA, or it will enforce re-authentication, or it will enforce identity provider MFA. So please check out the blog. I have pasted the link in the Q&A section. So Bree, I
Yeah.
also wanted to share some of the best practices and how you can take certain steps to roll out this upcoming MFA enforcement, because sometimes
Yes.
some users it can be a little challenging. So we definitely recommend you to adjust the policies as needed. If you're happy with the current security posture, well and good, but if you otherwise you can adjust. Second, it's always advisable that if you can send a notification in advance to all your impacted users, and then share with them the resources that what are the different, what is the importance of the MFA, what are the options that are available, how they can enroll, if they are locked out, what are the options, and then educate them that about the timelines so that they are well prepared. There are no surprises. We have ensured that every user gets a self-enrollment window, but these additional learnings and setup steps will certainly help your users and make sure this MFA enforcement is a smoother process.
Awesome.
Do you want to add anything else to that?
Sorry, did you say me? Sorry.
I was saying, like, if I missed anything, do you want to add anything?
Oh, yeah, no, sorry about that. No, that's it. My big leap behind is please read the documentation. We have so much of it. And then again, reach out if you guys have any questions.
And please do not
Awesome.
turn.
Yeah,
Are you
and
done?
don't turn it off. Use MFA. Yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you both very much. Thank you everybody here that joined and answering the questions on the back end and giving the great presentation. And I think sometimes this is along with other things, one of those things that's kind of behind the scenes. You don't necessarily think about it, but it's super, super important that you establish these things and use them. So I think this is great content, and it's always great that we now can add this to our library of information that we can share with customers. So super awesome. We appreciate it. Do we have any other questions? The Q&A is kind of empty, but do we have any other questions? We have some time available. We don't necessarily have to use it, but we want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to ask the question that they have. So maybe we'll give it a few seconds here to see if anything pops in or if a hand gets raised or anything like that. You all were so awesome. They have no questions. That is when you know
Hey.
really, really good. That is super. That's great. Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and close this out, and we'll be able to give a little bit of time back to everyone. So, everyone that was here, the presenters, the hosts, the panelists, all that. Hey, appreciate you spending some time with us today. If you joined us as a customer, we really appreciate you, like I said, giving up either your breakfast, lunch, or dinner to be with us here today. And really good information that was shared today. So, a couple things I want to say real quick, and then we'll get out of here. Is we do want to let you know that there are other sister academies that we have, a lot of different academies that cover pretty much everything within the platform that you could honestly think about. There are academies. So if you're not familiar with some of the ones, scan this QR code or take that link there, and you can register for those academies as well. There seems to be always an academy going on pretty much every day. So some are around the same time, some are a little earlier or later. But check out all of these different academies that are out there for really great information. And a lot of these academies, almost all the academies, of course, have the previous ones. So some of them have been around for a long time. Some of them are fairly new, but any of the existing academies sessions that happened prior, they have those listed out there for you as well. And remember, this will be out on the community within the next couple days. And then, of course, it'll be out on YouTube as well. And with that, we always love to thank everybody. We appreciate everybody that's here today. Really great content. And we look forward to seeing everybody again at our next session. And with that, we're going to drop. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Everyone, bye.
Thank you.